Music producers, it's Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com, and today I want to share with you one of my personal favorite cheat codes when it comes to replaying your samples, your favorite samples or songs within FL Studio. Let's talk about it. Music producers, you guys know that I am not a traditional piano player. You know that when it comes to me playing my keys, I do like this, then I do like this, then I do like this, I do like that. And then somehow, some way, a chord progression is created. No, I'm playing. I understand a little bit of music theory, but for the most part, I am not your traditional piano player. And over the years, I've had to suffice for that lack of knowledge. And the ways that I've done that has been many different ways, but one of the ways that I've really used that is this particular cheat code that I'm going to show you today. Now, the cheat code is a MIDI. Now, some of you may already know what a MIDI is, and for those of you that are like self-proclaimed gurus, you can leave. You don't have to watch. Today's just not for you. But for those of you that probably have heard the word or don't actually know what it is, let me actually go to the website that I get most of my MIDI files from, MIDIworld.com, that says MIDI stands for Music Instrument Digital Interface, and has been the rage among electronic musicians throughout its 6-year existence. I don't know when this was made, but I know it's been around for far longer than 6 years. It is a powerful tool for composers and teachers alike. It allows musicians to be more creative on stage and in a studio. It allows composers to write music that no human could ever perform. Now, that's kind of true and not true, because obviously a human performed this and created it within an actual computer program. But that being said, a MIDI is basically take your favorite song and imagine having the track outs to your favorite song, but they're all in these digital files that get compressed into one file that you can import into FL Studio, and it'll separate all the different stems. Sounds confusing, but when I show it to you, you can be like, Curtis, why nobody ever taught me this? Because it's a cheat code, fool. I'm just playing. But I've been using this for quite some time, and MIDI World is definitely something that's been a very good resource when it comes to that. Now, here they have different genres and different categories that you can go to. One is a hip hop category that basically gives you some of their, I guess, latest stuff. Don't look at that. There's a lot more choices than that. Let's go to video games. Video games, oh my God, look at this. All these throwback video game intros that you can basically repurpose and make beats around. Now, what does something like this sound like? Now, when you first import it, I'm gonna show you, it's a little bit cheesy, but you guys know pretty much, I'm pretty sure many of you guys know the beat that I made a few months ago, almost a year ago actually, that was basically the 007 theme. I didn't play not a lick of that, but what I did have access to was the MIDI file in which I imported, and because I imported it, I was able to basically take the stem that is the bass and turn that into an 808. Take the stems of the guitar and basically change that instrument to a guitar that sounds a lot less polyphonic as the stock MIDI sound. Also too, that wow, 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 that lead sound, I was able to use whatever lead that I wanted to use, and at that time I had Omnisphere, and that's what I used for the lead sound. But as you can see, there's many different choices here. Let me actually show you what this looks like in FL Studio. So basically, the way that you import a MIDI file in FL Studio, go to File, Import, MIDI File, okay? When you import a file, I have all these different ones inside of one folder, but let's actually take that sample that I showed you earlier just so you can see what it looks like. But I want to show you the full capabilities of this and why I consider it a cheat code for myself. So GoldenEye 007, for instance. When you get here, you're going to have some import MIDI data that you want to pay attention to. First one, it says what tracks to import. So it's basically asking you what tracks that they have separated do you want to import. Most times you're going to do all tracks, but say for instance you really like the brass section in the 007, you get that and it'll basically import that singular for you. Here you have what channels to import. Now, these channels are all separated by here. I would leave this as is because it basically provides you the amount of channels you need. Next thing, do you want to start a new project? Typically you do. I mean, you're not going to import a MIDI file into a session you already have because it's just going to stretch everything out and it's going to make it not sound like the original. Also, realign events. This is if you want to get rid of sometimes there's space in the very beginning of these MIDI files. And keep in mind, not every MIDI file is made the same way. Some are more organized than the other ones. Next thing, do you want to import the time signature? Most times you do, unless it's some funky, crazy time signature that would be difficult to loop from the master recording. You don't want to mess around along with that. You want to keep that as is. The next one, create one channel per track. Yes, you don't want to have all of your files sitting in one. I've had those before, especially like for my favorite Sade samples that I tried to reflip. Those were a pain in the butt for whoever created those. I don't care if you're watching or not. Those were a pain in the butt because I had to actually take the keys, and here I'm complaining about taking keys like this wasn't the most convenient thing ever. I'm sorry to whoever made that. I digress. The next thing, add Fruity LSD to project. Basically, this is the stock sounds in FL Studio that are going to replay the MIDI files and what the information it gives to FL Studio. So for the bass, it's going to basically signal to FL Studio, I want you to find one of your stock basses and basically play this as a bass here, right? So it takes all those signals and repurposes those instruments to basically be played as their stock sounds in FL Studio. The next one, import 0 velocity notes. This is basically if you don't want to take the musician's interpretation of the notes. Certain notes get played a little bit softer, certain notes get played a little bit more aggressively. Well, to keep it accurate, that's important that you have that fluctuation in the velocity, but sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want to make your own fluctuation in your velocity. That's what you'll click on this, import 0 velocity notes. But we're going to keep everything as is and then push accept. Now, once you actually open this, the first thing that's going to change is your BPM. It automatically adjusts to whatever BPM was set by the original MIDI musician. Now we're going to exit out of all these different windows so you can see exactly how it looks with Fruity LSD. When we pull this up, this is Fruity LSD, right? This is actually a plugin within FL Studio. This gives you all the different instruments, and mind you, you can click on these and you can change them within here. Although you can change them, I wouldn't suggest changing them and using them there unless you're going to take the sound and take it over to somewhere else, another plugin perhaps. Maybe if you got Nexus or Synth, or maybe if you have a contact library. I'm going to show you all that stuff right now. Have no fear. But now that we have it here, it does not usually set it up in song mode for you. It sets it up in pattern mode. So if we go over here to the channel rack, what you're going to see is everything has been laid out here for you. Okay. So let's just play it and see what it sounds like. I told you, keep in mind, it's about to be completely super cheesy because it's like really polyphonic sounding, but let's go ahead and play it. Yeah, so there's that. I want to show you one of my favorite parts from this that I actually sampled for that beat that I showed you earlier. Okay, so now actually we want the brass section. I think that's where I actually took my sample from. So let's go ahead and go to this section. So we'll cut the first note off. Let's ignore that. Here we go. So basically, I'm going to take that. I've highlighted all of these using my selector tool. I push Control C, and now I'm going to take that particular instrument and exchange it for a higher quality VST that I actually have on here. So I would basically go to another pattern. Generally, I don't remake the beats within here, but I do basically get the sounds. And since I'm talking about it, I might as well show you how I do that. So say, for instance, I want to use Serum. Okay, and I want to actually use a lead sound. I'm going to replay that lead sound that I just had here, and we're going to probably go through a few of them just so you can get the idea. I'm going to go ahead into the piano roll, then push Control V, and I actually shift these all the way over to the beginning. Okay, we got a little something here. So obviously now, because we have that original instrument, original notes, now we can mess around and find the actual instrument we want to replace it with. So let's go through these presets. Now, just imagine the options that you have. I mean, the possibilities are endless when it comes to taking those individual sounds. I want to show you something else, though, especially for those of you that maybe are learning how to play and you want to get more efficient by taking some of the chord progressions from your favorite songs, especially like songs that are at least 10 years or 15 to 20 years old. There's so many MIDI files for those songs because people have replayed them and replayed them and replayed them. But if we go to File and New, I'm actually going to show you another beat that I made just so you can see what that sounds like. Unbreakable. Boom. Now let me play this one for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Obviously, you're going to recognize this as a Carl Thomas sample. Wow, I got that from a MIDI. Hey. So that's that. I changed the BPM and I shifted around a few things. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about some of the legalities you want to pay attention to if you're going to go this route. But if I go to import MIDI file, Carl Thomas, I wish. So this is an example of one of those that I told you that could be a headache. Push accept. Now look at this. Look at this mess. Look what you look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Okay, so we're not even gonna get into that other madness that's happening, but we're gonna push Control C once again. Okay, and then we're going to add, where's my easy keys? Boom, and I'll leave a link to the easy keys. I love this thing. I used to be in love with the Neo Soul keys on Contact, but these, man, I love these keys. These are crazy. Basically, we're gonna go to another pattern once again, go to piano roll, and then now we have this here. Let's listen to it. I think what I actually did too is I shifted the timing of these first ones because it just sounded weird oddballing. Yup, I did that. Okay, no, I didn't actually do that. Let me not take credit for something that's not mine. But keep going through them. That's something that's dope about Easy Keys, the Dream Machine, is that it actually tells you what chords those are. What better teacher can you have than MIDI at this point, right? This is why I love messing around with MIDI. Now, you gotta be careful though, because although you're not sampling from the master recording, there's a few legality things you want to pay attention to. Let me actually pull up a form, which is not always the best reference for information, but this person actually broke it down in a very simplistic way that a lot of people can understand, and it's pretty accurate. It says, well, MIDI, that's not sampling. That's doing a cover of a song or making a derivative work from a song. If you play someone else's melody in your song, you have to get permission from the copyright holder. If you changed it enough to make it a completely different song, well, then it is a different song. So you obviously wouldn't need permission. So it said, this is different from using samples. Do you understand the difference between playing someone's melody and using a sample? So that basically this person is saying that because you are replaying it, quote unquote, in essence, you have a little bit more freedom, right? Because there's certain things that you can do. Like I can take one of these chords and sort of invert that situation. And maybe even I can take these. Right? There's a few things that you can do to make it your own, but nothing makes it your own like making it your own. So if you're going to mess around with this, I would suggest don't use the same BPM, first of all. And secondly, I would suggest messing around with these keys, and maybe it's you like the way that the first chord progression sound, but then now you need to nail another chord progression here so that it becomes more of your own, right? You got to be careful because you know what happened to Robin Thicke and Pharrell, and they literally got sued for millions for a groove, right? Just for the groove of the song that they had. You don't want to be in that same situation, but most times they're not going to come after you, especially if you're using this as a teaching tool more so. Now, if you're trying to sell these bad boys, you're on your own, playboy. But I'm just showing you what this actually looks like. I love messing around with these because I learned so much in the process. And also, too, it gives me great inspiration whenever the original melodies are just not coming to me, or whenever I just want to learn, why do I like this progression? Oh, because I use a lot of seventh chords. This is something that I have utilized for many of beats, not more so beats that are my original ones, but ones that I at least wanted to sort of have like the same feelings of a sample, but actually not be a sample, right? Because it is replaying it in essence in a very digital way. But that is my secret when it comes to replaying your favorite samples, video games, songs, whatever it is that you're into. This is the way to go about it. Once again, the website that I get these from is midiworld.com, and you can just go in there and get lost. There's so many different categories that you can go through. I mean, they even separate it by letters. Where is it at? Where's that bad boy at? Go to Files tab. Yeah. I mean, you can even do like Celine, the Titanic song, My Heart Will Go On, and like turn it into a crazy trap beat. Whatever fits, whatever floats your boat, that's on you. If you guys enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. If you have any other requests for videos you want me to do in the future, please leave it in the comment below. Look, this is some of the juice that I can share with you when it comes to little cheat codes and things that you can do within FL Studio. If you already knew this, you knew it. Good job. But if you didn't, well, I'm glad to have helped you. In this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below, Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com.